It's 2010. God of War 3 just came out. You look at the game and wonder how on earth something could look so gorgeous. And you realize something. Something that slipped through the cracks every time you saw the trailers. You think to yourself, I wonder what it looks like when I press circle. So you go up to your mom and say,
Mama, can I get me that new game that just came out, Mama? What game? It's just a silly little game where we press circle a lot and the screen shakes. Okay. You go to the store, game acquired. You get back home, and it's only when you boot it up at home, on your console, that you truly realize how beautiful the game is. The sweat drops and pours visible so clearly. Your brother with trypophobia is having a seizure beside you. But you don't notice, because Aphrodite's on screen. You're mesmerized. You tell yourself, how did we ever get this far? This looks so real. I mean, there's no way we can get any better, right? Wrong. Technology was only going to improve, and improve it did, goddammit. With the PS4 and Xbox One around the corner, we were about to witness a whole new level of beauty. Games were going to look so good. You wouldn't have to imagine what a horse's shrunken testicles would look like. You could just see it. The 8th generation is going to blow us away, and I cannot wait.
And 8 gigs of RAM, which is really competitive in current PC space.
You are everything I wanted to be.
Rethink the way that people play games.
Welcome, unkindled one.
Oh, what the fuck is that? Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. 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 We somehow got worse. Was it all just hopeful thinking? Was humanity never supposed to reach past that horizon? Are we forever stuck with faces that move like Caitlyn Jenner's face? How could this happen? Now I know in 2025 it's getting pretty common to prefer gameplay over graphics, but this wasn't always the case for gamers. At least not for gamers that were me. Back in the late 00s and the early 10s, it was actually pretty common to root for the improvement of graphics, because it was such a novel concept. We all wanted to see it get better. Like, I'm sure we all have that one memory of playing a new game that was the pinnacle of graphics to us at the time, but then you look at it now and it's like, what is that? Why does that look like vomit? What are you doing, Nintendo? But here's the thing. Even back then, even when we thought Zelda Ocarina of Time was the pinnacle of graphics, it couldn't get any better than that, we still kind of knew that, yeah, it could get better than that. This wasn't as good as it got. Because I remember the thought I always had back then was that I wonder if games would ever look as good during gameplay as it did during the cutscenes. Because whenever those cutscenes came on and I saw the prince's hair from Prince of Persia actually move like its hair, it always made me go. And that's the thing, those cutscenes made it really easy to see the gap we had to bridge graphically. We still had some ways to go. So I was hopeful that, oh man, one day, we'll be able to play games that look as good as it does right now. And like I said, we are at that point in gaming now, so why is it that we have so much negative sentiment towards graphics if this is what we've been asking for? Easy, because companies like money. Yeah, I had to do some really intense research for that fact. You're welcome. But the point I'm getting at is that graphics have become such a low-hanging fruit way of making games seem high quality. First impressions matter, and when we look at something that looks good, we think it might actually be good. I think this is called the halo effect in science. You know, to us gamers, we know we're above this shit. We know looks don't matter. All right, what can I actually do in this game? You know, can I stealth kill? Can I throw a cocktail Molotov? What? I think I got that wrong. Can I throw a tomahawk? Can I kill from the bushes? Can I jump? Or is it all just gonna be farming? Why do you exist? We know that if a game looks good, it doesn't mean it's gonna be good, okay? We gotta see what's behind the curtains, you know? Games can look as good as they want, but if I have nothing to do in it, I'm not playing it. But to normies who don't eat food just so they can live longer to play more games, to these guys who are also the larger audience to sell games to, yeah, they just look at what looks good and they're like, all right, I guess I'll get that. That looks interesting. You know, I had this friend who's a normie, you know, he was asking me, can you give me some game recommendations? All right. And then I'm like, you know what? I want to be a good friend. I gotta come through for my friend. So I go down the list. I'm like, all right, what are the good games? What are the games I really like? 10 out of 10 masterpieces only. All right? Elden Ring, Dark Souls, God of War, Final Fantasy VII, Metroid, Hollow Knight. I'm saying all this. I'm giving him really good recommendations. And you want to know what the motherfucker said to me in reply? Yup. Yeah, bro, I'm calling you out, bitch. But that's the thing a lot of companies bank on. It's a lot cheaper to make something look good than to make it look good and be good. And since the larger audience really only cares about how something looks like when they're buying a game, companies only in it for the money just focus on that. You see games like Red Dead 2 and God of War, where the visuals and the gameplay of the game are good, are very exceptional cases. You don't see many games juggle these two aspects very well. It's very rare and very expensive to do. Everyone always says making games are more expensive than making movies right now, but I wanted to see if this was true. I don't know if you've noticed, but actors demand a lot of money.
Show me the money.
One guy will be demanding $50 million for his role in the movie. I know that's just an A-list celebrity, but come on, that's gotta add up, right? It's not like you got two actors in a movie. Two actors, if they're both demanding $50 million, that's already $100 million. So it's definitely gotta add up. There's no way games are more expensive. So I was like, you know what? Let me look up a movie that has some A-list celebrities, right? A recent movie, so inflation doesn't count here. So I look up Oppenheimer with 4 or 5, 10,000 A-list celebrities in them, and it was $100 million. Now that's a lot of doubloons, all right? Those are a lot of gold coins right there. Let's check God of War Ragnarok. Yeah. How? If you're gonna spend all that money on these projects, maybe send me $1 million or $2. Come on. I don't want a job. But you want to know what the worst part of spending all this money on these projects is? There's no guarantee it's going to work. You are going $200 million in the hole, in the hopes, because you think it will be good. It will be worth it at the end. There's a light at the end of this tunnel, but you can't see the light. You're just talking out of your ass. Who knows if it's gonna be right? Being a game developer is basically just getting hired to be deluded. Oh, and let's not forget about the time it takes to make one of these games. It takes about 7 to 9 years. Just imagine that. Look, it's commendable that these developers are working this hard for 7 to 9 years, placing all those pores on the skin, making sure the light lands on the right way depending on the direction of the light, only for us to play 90% of the game with the back of their heads facing us. This is terrible. 7 to 9 years of your work being actively, completely ignored. And I get it, you know, making good things takes time. You know, we can't forget that Shigeru quote, right? You know, this guy's onto something. But this is also why devs don't want to do all of that. Games have become self-cannibalizing. They cost so goddamn much to make that it's like a Hail Mary attempt at success. You're not really strategizing here. It's not financially smart to spend this much money and hope it works out. But you know, what if we could make a game that was a lot cheaper than this, but also better? I mean, there's gotta be some way to do that. I mean, hell, technology only gets better, right? It gets more efficient as time goes on. People invent some new shit. They call in this guy again. Surely there's a way to make it cheaper and better. See, while the idea of getting a new mainline God of War game tomorrow, or even right now, makes me want to go, I know there is no way to get that kind of quality quick. And when I look at the details of how accurately they captured the facial animations as the character is talking, or how the other characters who are listening to the character talking respond and move their body as they're listening, it all just makes sense. It makes sense to me why this takes so long, because it's so detailed. I completely understand it taking as long as it does. but I would still like it right now. And that is exactly what Unreal Engine 5 promises. Now, I gotta preface this, alright? I'm fucking...
Retard.
I can't really grasp smart concepts like that. So maybe I'm getting this wrong. And if I am, leave a comment, tell me how I'm wrong, and explain it better, please. But this is what I understand Unreal Engine 5 to be. From what I've seen in the demonstration videos, traditionally creating characters and the environments that are really detailed required a lot of manual repetitive tasks. And the more detail you want in the world, the more of those tasks you have to perform. Let me give you an example of a painting. Let's say I were to paint this scene from Vagabond, okay? With all the blades of grass here. If I wanted every single blade of grass to be highly detailed, I would have to do them individually, manually, on my own. What Unreal Engine 5 does is it automates all of this bullshit. It just makes it to where I can do one swipe and I get all of that. But if this was 3D, so now instead of going manually over all the single blades of grass and putting some patches here and there, all I really gotta do now is hover my mouse over a certain area on the map, click the button, and drag. And there you go. I have environment. I'm sure you can see how this would significantly reduce development times, right? And surely this would also mean that games would be able to be created quicker and better, right? Now, I don't know if it's just me, but as cool as having all these magic trick hooplas in Unreal Engine 5 is, I hate how the games look from Unreal Engine 5. Maybe just the bad ones, but my perspective is a little different, okay? I don't hate it because of how it looks like. Like, sure, this overly sharp, grainy look, it's kind of annoying, but that's not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is with how these characters move when they talk. So I took to the internet to figure out why I don't like it. You know, why is it bothering me so much when they talk? And we all know the uncanny valley effect, right? If you don't know, it's the same reason we think Zuckerberg looks like an alien, right? He looks really close to human being, but there's something off. Something about him tells you that his eyes are gonna close sideways, right? It's just weird. And that little bit that's off makes our brain completely reject his humanity. We don't think he's human at all. I guess until he met some black guys, I don't know. But here's the thing, a lot of these games will actually have character models that are so convincing that my old noggin doesn't actually reject their humanity. You know, I still think these guys are human beings. But for some reason, when they open their mouth, why? It turns out that uncanny valley doesn't only apply when their looks don't match, but it's also when their movements don't match. Because the human detectors in our brains also detect weird, unmatching movements. We don't like it when something looks the part, but then moves like a robot. Like, why does a Power Rangers Megazord look more natural than this? What the hell is wrong with this character? You're not real. There's a stupid automated facial animation feature that basically animates the facial animations by taking in what you said and backwards engineering what the face would look like. But in my research, I came across this concept by Lisanne I'll put her name there. I don't. If an automated system fails, the operator must intervene. But automation makes the operator less practiced and less prepared to do so. What that means is, when you use ChatGPT to write your essays, you start sucking at them. All the AI bullshit parts that are in the essay now, you can't detect them because you don't know what a good essay is. To you, that bullshit is good. And guess what? It's actually happening. But I think this concept affects mid-tier games the most. You know, the games that aren't really that expensive, but aren't that cheap either, that's where you get most of the funky weirdo games, or at least used to. You can make the argument that, you know what, it is a mid-tier game, so is it really fair to expect, you know, good quality from that? But I still want a good game. Because here's the thing, back in the day, before Unreal Engine 5 and its automated animation and stuff, mid-tier game devs who rely on that bullshit would have no other option but to create an art style that works with their restriction. From the ground up, they would have had to consider their shortcomings and find an art style that works with their shortcomings. And this restriction of what was possible for them actually worked in their favor. They ended up creating unique and newer art styles because they didn't just end up relying on these automated tools that gave them photorealism and shitty animation. Please stop making everything look realistic or anime. I hate this. Why is this anime shit even here now? Really what I'm asking is, just make the perfect game for me. All developers out there, make the perfect game for me, okay? Is that too much to ask? But in essence, what I'm really trying to say here is that mid-tier game devs that would have relied on their creativity to create some random unique art style that worked for them and also kind of looked good don't exist anymore. Because they can just rely on photorealism from Unreal Engine 5. Like, look at Breath of the Wild. If you judge it on the details of its graphics, it looks like shit. But then as a whole, my God, that looks good. I'm gonna put that up on my wall. Oh my God, look at how good it looks. Oh my God, I like that. What the hell? But then you look at Star Wars Outlaws, which is a really highly detailed art style, right? All the belt buckles, the freaking straps on the jacket, the lashes, the pores, the lighting reflections. But as a whole, not good. Not good. So what is the solution to all this bullshit? You know, why can games with highly detailed art style look bad and games with low details in their arts look good? What is happening here? Now I know this question sounds existential, but I'm a gamer. We don't do that shit. I mean this more literally. See, the way I like to think of what makes up an art style is with two things. Broadly speaking, what something looks like and what are you actually drawing. These two things put together in a certain way makes up a certain art style, according to the institution of me. Let's take Eren from Attack on Titan, for example. Eren did nothing wrong. Go fuck yourself. Eren is designed with the anime art style in mind, right? This is very anime. I mean, sure, they have their own iteration of the anime art style, but this is still very anime. And this very anime aspect of Eren would be in what something looks like. But then all of the character features like the brownish black hair, the green eyes, the straight nose, the juicy lips, the ripped bod, hot, all of that goes in what you were actually drawing. If I drew a cartoony elephant, the cartoony aspect of that elephant would be in the way something looks, and what I'm actually drawing, which is an elephant, would be in what you are actually drawing. Pretty intuitive, right? But this is also where a lot of photorealistic devs seem to lose their way. Because here's the deal. Making a unique art style doesn't just come from tinkering with what something looks like. You can also create weird shit, mix and match some random shit, and that makes your art style. Like, let's take an example. God of War Ragnarok and 2018. Okay? Everything in this game is all very photorealistic. You know, it's all realistic looking, but it's still very memorable. You know, it's distinct. It's very unique to its own character. It's because they're creating random weird shit. You know, what they're actually drawing is fantastical. Stuff like the World Serpent, Thor, Odin. These things don't exist. Even though that serpent looks very realistic, you know, I mean, obviously there's no serpent that looks like that, but I'm saying you can see all the scales on its body, you can see the reflection of the light on its eyes, you can see its nose flaring as it talks, but at the end of the day, it's a giant talking serpent. You know, they're creating weird shit, and that's why it's memorable. You don't have to just tinker with this to make a unique art style. You can do that as well, and that's what Miyazaki does all the time with his bosses. I mean, what the hell is wrong with him? We need to give him therapy, okay? He's given us a lot of games. I feel like we can do that for him in return, okay? This guy needs it. What is that? Why are there that many hands? That guy needs our help, all right? He's sending us signals throughout all the games. And that's the thing. That's why I think mid-tier games art styles are getting really stale and boring. It's because they're relying too much on Unreal Engine 5's automation. You know, now I don't really know what the process of making game art is, but I'm an artist. Sometimes it's actually better to be restricted within some bounds to flourish your creativity. Anyway, that's all I had to say in this video. If you liked it, all right, fellas. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a sub and a like. And if you didn't like this video, please leave a sub and a like too.